Yeah, I mean, given the nature of an effects film, Killer Klowns is not the kind of film that you just put actors, you know, on a nicely built set and shoot dialogue. There are a lot of elements. There's an art department element that has to be considered in just about every shot of the movie. You're designing a new look for things. The clown spaceship itself was a whole nother thing. You know, Philip Foreman, my art director, he came up with that kit of parts to be able to reuse elements, you know, instead of building things from scratch and discarding them, which would have been not the best use of our limited, you know, resources and budgets. The design aspects of it started, you know, I was looking at the script, talking with Stephen and Edward, but since Stephen was directing, you know, I wanted to get an idea of what he would like to see, and I was thumbnailing and roughing out a lot of boards for approval by Stephen, and on some sequences, you know, I just sort of did my view of it, and then had Stephen go back in and correct things, and you know, change angles, you know, to his specifications. Something as simple as the balloon animal and the balloon dogs was a difficulty, because when you put them on the ground, balloons popped as soon as they came in contact with something like a pine needle. Little things like that. So all of a sudden, you know, who has to think of a solution? They said, Charlie, you know, what do you do? You know, the balloons are popping. We can't shoot. So I go, well, let's get some latex and put some latex on the things. You know, take a hairdryer, dry it. That problem was solved. The vacuum machine that we built, you know, I did a conceptual sketch, showed Philip. Philip said, you don't want it to look exactly like this. I said, you know what? In feel, it has to look like this. The details, not important. So he put, you know, he and the crew, they built onto an existing pickup truck. Panels with kludge together, garbage can lids, and, you know, the stuff that you put, you know, like bread baskets. You paint them, you know, and you put them, if you see them on the table, they're bread baskets. If you put them on a pickup truck panel, it becomes something from outer space, which is great. And Philip had that great. He's amazing at kludging things together. You know, like I said, we spent $7,000 to make a practical working popcorn gun. I did a drawing, and the guy sculpted, molded it, matched it, put a working air mortar in it, spinning popcorn in a fan, and it worked for the one shot we used it in the picture. And Philip said to me later, I could have built you something like that with sparkless bottles and stuff like that for about $100, and I believe him. And I think we could have, and I've taken that philosophy with me now when I build things. It's not that important to follow a drawing necessarily. The feel would have been there, you know. So working with Philip was invaluable in terms of that learning curve. But the sequences that we're, you know, that we're going to be seeing is the Kreating clown car with the rig, which was a brilliant rig that was attached to the car, that the actual performer, he had headlights attached to his clown feet. And he had a control in his glove that by just moving his wrists, he can control his forward and backward movement and his side-to-side movement. So basically, we told him what we wanted him to do. We shouted it to him, and he would go, okay, go left, ram the car, vroom, vroom, vroom. Go forward, catch up to vroom, and he would go. And all this was being on a practical rig that was attached to the understructure of the movie car, you know, and it was a pretty amazing thing. It was built by a guy named Jarn Heil. Something as simple as the pizza gag. We wanted, conceptually, girl answers the door, and there's a pizza delivery clowns. Pizza, right? We have a clown pop up, shoot the ray gun, and turn her into a cocoon. That looks real easy. 20 takes later, the guy in the suit, we stacked 10 pizza cartons.
Actually, it's all.
The guys had to hold them. The guy had to pop up through the hollow ones, have a perfect eye line with his target, plus get his hand through there with the oversized clown gloves and point the gun in the direction, in the screen direction of the actress. Take one, no good. Gun's over here. Take two, the box top didn't go up right. Then he needed a rest. Take 3, 4, 5, and 6. Something else went wrong. It's hysterical. A simple gag like that took hours to do. Until you got it once, he said, yeah, that's it, you got it. All right, now press the trigger. And the gun didn't work. You know? If one of 20 elements, if just one of them wasn't working, you're screwed. So, then you hope, so, at some point, when time is going, you say, all right, so maybe this one's good enough, this one's good enough. Oh, this one works. And then you say, well, we can make this work by tweaking things. At some point, you develop an eye where you say, you know what, we can make that one work. And, it turned out fine. It's a funny sequence. We had helped out the costume designer by, by fabricating the shoes for her. We sculpted them and cast them out of a urethane material. And she was putting fabric over them to make them multicolored and fun. You could walk in them real good, and it was awkward because if you put an extension, a 12-inch or 10-inch extension on your foot, walking, because it's like walking in diving flippers, diving fins. We found out that the material, if you ran it and stuff like that, would have a tendency to want to crack and split. Perhaps it wasn't the best material. It was great the first week, but once it started curing over a period of weeks, before we started shooting, we found out the material got a little more brittle. We didn't find this out until the stunt guys were putting it through their paces and the shoes were falling apart. So the costume designer was understandably upset with us, and all we were trying to do was help her out by having her not have to make shoes from scratch. But we wound up getting through it. We repaired the ones and, and reinforced, other pairs. But I don't think I have that on video. We were all standing there watching the shoes fall apart. Yeah, this is Dwight Roberts, our mechanical designer and supervisor. He built all the stuff that makes our clowns work. And I guess I want him to tell you about the differences between technology today and technology in 1986, 87, and what he's been able to accomplish then and now.
Mm-hmm. Well, back on Clowns 14 years ago, we did a lot of things with cable. Everything was done. We had a separate puppet head that we used for the close-ups, and then we had walk-around heads that had limited movement, which was radio-controlled with eye blinks, things like that.
You're doing the shadow now. We're rolling. Now doing the shadow, keep the mouth closed. Now look over to the camera, to the crowd. I want you to smile. Now look back up there.
I only see one eye.
Okay. Now turn back. Turn up more. We want to see both eyes.
Too far over.
Too far. Turn it back. Right there. There's your mark. Now open his mouth and smile. Make his head go up and then back to the shadow. A little quicker on those moves. Now he's close the mouth. Close it all the way.
It is. That is it.
Okay, keep it rolling. All right.
Some of the funny stories, with some of the unique challenges that clown gave you.
Well, when, let me see, that one evening we had Tiny, where he's knocking the block off the biker.
Yeah.
We had the life cast of the actor that night, make the mold, make the rubber head that had to knock off all in the same evening. It was pretty crazy trying to get that done.
Marker.
Action. Cut. Do it again. Action. Cut.
Save it. Marker.
Action. Cut.
Save it.
Marker. Keep on rolling. Cut.
Save it.
Marker. Okay. Keep on rolling.
Bounce shot.
Sure.
Watch your shadow.
When Tiny was in the cocoon room,
Right.
and he was sucking the
All right.
sucking the blood out of the cocoon, we had to modify a head really quick. I think we glued fishing lines up inside the mouth so we could pull it back and forth. That took like 20 minutes. We had to quick rig up fishing lines. And
Well, that was interesting. Yeah, I think, remember, you made a quick modification on it. The natural movement was mouth open and closed. By Dwight wiring it shut, when he hit the cable control, it made a very natural sucking movement. And he rigged that up. It's just one of those things, you know, Dwight knew what he had to do, you know, to get the thing to work. And it's one of the more, you know, the more striking images when the clown is actually sucking the brain goo. You know, basically the materials that we used were what back then?
materials as far as the skins.
Fabrication on the...
Yeah, we had foam latexes on the head, which were, basically we still use foam latex today. The materials have gotten a lot lighter. I think we've, after a lot of experience making puppets, we've realized we don't have to go quite as strong in some of the parts, so everything has gotten lighter. That's how we can sort of build everything into one head.
Yeah, you know, we're planning, actually we're going to be doing some tests on possibly a new clown head and just incorporate all our new technologies and see exactly how small we can build a killer clown head to fit on an actor and still be able to do all the stuff that we need to do. Another interesting material, which is, you know, has some advantages to foam in terms of reality, is that silicone stuff that we're using now.
Well, silicone is pretty interesting. It looks very realistic, and it has some good stretching and flexing qualities. The drawbacks are it's heavy. It's a little harder to work with as far as animatronics, but I think we'll probably be using that.
Yeah, it's like anything. It's like the effects thing. It's a mixed bag. What you do is you use the right materials, the right techniques to do certain things. You know, I think Dwight pulled, you know, quite a few tricks out of the bag. You know, everyone had to think on their feet. You know, we threw a lot of, you know, interesting problems at him that he had to solve, and it worked out pretty well. Could we have made a simpler picture? Yeah, you know, but it wouldn't have been Killer Klowns from Outer Space.